Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Steph and today I will be filming my June book haul. I literally just said to my brother, it's okay, I don't have that many books. Like I didn't get that many books in June, so it should be a really quick video. That was a lie. I lied to him and I lied to myself. So let's just get through this video. Let's get through this video quickly and move on with the rest of our Sunday. So the first books I bought in June is a duology. So I picked up Dance of Thieves and Vow of Thieves by Mary E. Pearson. This is because I had just finished reading The Remnant Chronicles by Mary E. Pearson and I really love The Remnant Chronicles, but I've heard that this series is even better. So I did pick these up. I have not yet started them. I didn't intend to start them right away anyway, but this, from what I've heard, is very much like a Six of Crows kind of vibe. So I'm excited. Next, I picked up Honey by Imani Thompson. I don't know all that much about this book. I just know it's about a woman who accidentally kills someone and then kind of develops a taste for killing and continues to do so. I'm excited. I picked it up because it was at Big W, which I wasn't expecting. It was one of those more like low-key books that I didn't think was going to make it to Big W, but when I saw it, I picked it up straight away. The next book I have is Shadows of Sparta by C.R. Jane. I feel like this has been quite hyped up in the Romantasy Greek retelling groups, and this is a retelling of Helen of Troy. Of course, the names are like slightly altered, so they're not exactly the same, but it is essentially just Helen of Troy told for a bookish audience. Now, as someone who grew up watching this Helen of Troy adaptation, which obviously I watched this when I was way too young to watch this, but I loved it. This was my favorite movie for so long. So I have always kind of had an affinity for the Helen of Troy story because nostalgia. So very excited for this one. I do think it's the first in this series, but I will hopefully read it soon. Next, we have got Harvest Season by Brynne Weaver. So this is the second book in the Seasons of Carnage trilogy. I love the Ruinous Love trilogy, like love it, love it, love it. So I'm really, really keen to start this series. I think it is similar vibes where it is people that are killing, but kind of for the right reasons, and there is a romance. That's all I really know. I haven't read the first book, but hopefully I will. Next we have Rest and Be Thankful by Emma Glass. Now I actually have read this one. This one I purchased from World Books, so it was quite cheap. This follows a pediatric nurse and how she's struggling, how long late shifts are. She's a walking zombie. She's incredibly sleep deprived and she absolutely takes no time to care for herself or put any growth into her relationships because she's so focused on giving these sick babies all the love and care that she possesses. It's actually quite a sad book and it ends in one of those ways where I had to Google what other people thought the ending meant, and it has so many interpretations, which I always think is very interesting. I would highly recommend this one. In the same World of Books order, I also purchased On the Savage Side by Tiffany McDaniel. Now, I think this is a book that is drawing from real life murders. It follows two sisters. They are twins. They just live in their own little world and they love each other and they're best friends. But we are also coupling their relationship with a string of murders that is occurring in their small town. So it is drawing from the true story of women killed in Chillicothe, Ohio. And I don't know anything about that story, so I think that could be a really interesting read for me. And then in the same World of Books order, I also decided to pick up The Stepford Wives by Ira Levin. I also own Rosemary's Baby in the same sort of edition, so I think reading them back to back, as well as like Yesteryear and maybe Tradwife would be very interesting to look at, you know, women's roles within a home setting throughout history. Could be very intriguing for me, but it is just a really, really short book. And the next book is one I pre-ordered technically and received on the night of a book event. It is The Play Is Promised by Tierney Page. I listened to the audio of this book before the event because I wanted to go to this bookish event knowing what we were going to be talking about, and Tierney is just so lovely. She's actually so lovely. She's so fucking beautiful. I will insert a picture of us here. But yes, she did have a cute little meetup where she talked about her books and her writing, and she then signed everyone's books. So it was a great, great event, but it was also a really great book. We are following a couple who meet at a bar one night. Vibes are good, have an amazing night together. Don't think they're ever going to see each other again, but it turns out that Anna, the woman, is Liam's son's new teacher. So it is a, oh shit, I just slept with my student's parent situation, but it was so good. Both these characters were so beautifully written. I would highly recommend this book. More so than the other two in the series, this was my favorite book. The next stack of books, so the next 5 books I got on a single trip to Savers. Half of this was me kind of just finding books that I was remotely interested in, grabbing them quickly, because I go to Savers during my breaks, my lunch breaks at work, which are only half an hour, so I don't have a lot of shopping time. Some of these I'm more interested in than others, but let's just get into them. So the first one I have is Greek Lessons by Han Kang. This is the same author who wrote The Vegetarian. I didn't like The Vegetarian. I think it was the first book I ever happily gave 1 star. This one I think might be more up my alley, because this is more of a wholesome story about a woman living in Seoul who is a Greek teacher. She teaches Koreans how to speak Greek, and then we are following this teacher and one of her students, and like these two women building this beautiful bond and beautiful friendship. It is a short book, and I do have higher expectations for this book than The Vegetarian. The next one was another one that was just random. It is called I Am Still Alive by Kate Alice Marshall. I have heard amazing things about Kate Alice Marshall's writing. However, I've never heard anyone talk about this book. This is about a girl who is sent to go live with her father in kind of the wilderness, in like a foresty, woodsy sort of area. And then one day, the cabin that they live in is burned down to the ground. Her father is dead, and she knows who killed her father. It is someone from his past, and she's on a mission to try and survive the snowstorm that she's in, but also avenge her father's death. Very interesting, but not necessarily the kind of book I would have picked up if it hadn't been secondhand for so cheap. I then found a copy of The Binding by Bridget Collins. Now, this book I've seen out and about at like Big W and stuff, and I just, as someone who doesn't typically like historical books or gravitate towards them, I was very apprehensive about this. However, when I saw it at Savers with tabs, I was very intrigued. So this is set in a world where books aren't just books. Books are vessels that hold people's memories, and bookbinders are people that essentially collect these memories and put them inside books. So we are following our main character, Emmett, I believe, who is called on to be a bookbinding apprentice, and everything's kind of going fine until one day he finds a book in the bookstore he works at, and it has his name on it. So at some point in the past, he has gone to a bookbinder to erase a memory. And that is a very intriguing concept to me, so I have picked it up, obviously. I just hope I enjoy it, but it is such a beautiful book, so I really hope I do enjoy it. Next, I found a romantasy pick that I think a lot of people are vibing with, and it is The Wolf King by Lauren Pelfreman. This follows a princess on the eve of her wedding. She is kidnapped away by the Wolf King, and he believes that she is the cure to a war. But then the longer she's with him, the more she finds out that both her people and his people are very, very dangerous, I think. Look, I was just excited to find this because this is another one I've always seen out and about at like Big W and Kmart, and have always stopped myself from purchasing because I didn't know that much about it. But for like $5, I was like, we may as well pick it up and give it a red hot go. So that is what we have here. And the last one I found on this particular trip to Savers is The Guest List by Lucy Foley. I've read quite a few Lucy Foley books. So I read The Hunting Party when it first came out. I've read The Paris Apartment, The Midnight Feast. So I've read most of her newer releases. This is the only one that I hadn't picked up. And I like Lucy Foley's writing style. This follows a wedding on an Irish coast, and then one person is found dead, and then it makes everyone in the wedding a suspect. It is a very formulaic thing with Lucy Foley, but I always have fun with her books. So I picked it up, and this was actually, I was very excited to find this. I was like, oh, how exciting. Let's move on to a book I purchased from Amazon, and it is Trick by Natalia Jester. Now, I think we've all seen the TikTok of the princess and the jester, and like, I am so intrigued by these characters, even if they're not from anything, they are just someone's creation. And a lot of people on BookTok have said, if you are looking for a book that has a princess jester relationship, this is the book to do it. Now, there are, I think, 5 or 6 books in this series, so I'm not committing to the full series at this point, but we are following a princess who is sent to a different court, I think, and there she meets the jester, and he is named, I think, Poet, and he is meant to be like dangerous and like a trickster and deceptive, and I cannot wait to read this fucking book. So I picked that one up. The next 2 books I have are from another, not a Savers trip, but another work lunch break that I went to a secondhand store next to my work. So I think these books are $1 each at this secondhand store. I found Luckiest Girl Alive by Jessica Knoll. Now, I've actually owned this book in the past, but I wasn't intrigued. I think I literally found it at a secondhand store, purchased it because why the fuck not, brought it home, and then realized I don't know anything about this book or this author, I don't care, and I unhauled it. But now I've read from Jessica Knoll, like I've read Bright Young Women, and she's got a newer book coming out that I'm very excited for. So I thought when I saw this, like, why the hell not? So this follows a woman who has a perfect life. However, her high school experience was not great, and now there is a reporter digging around into whatever incident occurred at her high school when she was still a student there, and it threatens to destroy her entire present, her entire life. It sounds intriguing, and yeah, I really enjoyed Bright Young Women. I think it was such a beautifully tragic story. So I thought for $1, how can I not pick up that one? And the other book I found at the same store for $1 is 13 Ways of Looking at a Fat Girl by Mona A. Wood. I really enjoyed Bunny. I really enjoyed We Love You, Bunny. I've since purchased a couple of other Mona A. Wood books online that I'm waiting to receive. So this was the last one I wanted for my collection, and I found it for $1. This is a series of vignettes following a girl who is fat and has a lot of issues with her body. And as someone who is fat and has had a lot of issues with my body in the past, I think this could either be the kind of book that makes me feel really seen, or the book that makes me think that Mona A. Wood doesn't understand what it means to be a fat girl. I've heard both sides in regards to this book. I've heard some people say that it was done so well that only a fat person could relate to it, but I've also heard it be like a terrible representation of what it's like to be in a bigger body. So we'll see. But I do love a story told in vignettes. I do find that quite exciting. The next book, would you believe, is another book I found at Savers on a spur of the moment trip to Savers during my work week. It is called Girl, Goddess, Queen by Bea Fitzgerald. This is a YA retelling of Hades and Persephone's relationship. I am obsessed with all things Greek mythology, but yeah, that's all I really know. That this is a maybe like more of a feminist retelling of Hades and Persephone, that she wasn't tricked into the underworld, that she chose to go willingly, and she didn't fall in love with Hades, but she definitely worked with him to ascertain her own power. So I'm very excited to read this. I was actually planning on buying it from someone on Facebook Marketplace, and then I found it at Savers for like a quarter of the price. The next one I picked up was a random Big W purchase from memory. It's called The Final Six by Ikenara Asakura, translated by Hayden Trow. So this book follows 6 final applicants for a job at some fancy high-tech company, and the 6 of them are put in a room where they have to like answer questions. It's very much like the movie The Exam. Is that what the movie is called? I've never seen it, but very sus mystery thriller vibes, because someone finds that there are envelopes in this room, one for each person, and the things within these envelopes could ruin each person's life. So it becomes a question of who put these envelopes in the room and why. So to me, maybe like a mix of The Exam and The Menu. And that sounds like it's right up my alley, so I picked it up. Also, I love that thrillers and mysteries are starting to get really fun, bright colored books. It's very new. It's very fresh. The next book I have to show you guys is, I was so excited when I saw the announcement for this book, and I was so excited when I received it. It is a special edition of Devil's Day Party by Sam Stunich, which was brought out by Blush Book Box, which is an Australian book box. Devil's Day Party is my favorite Sam Stunich book. It is one of my favorite, like all-time favorite Why Choose romances. It is one of my favorite time loop romances. It has everything I want in a book and more. So this is the beautiful edition that we have, but if you remove the dust jacket, it actually is like a clear dust jacket, and then that is the cover. I just am obsessed. I gave this book one of the easiest 5 stars. Absolutely love this book. So we are following our main character, Karma, and Devil's Day Party is a day where in this small town, the teenagers basically run amok and do whatever the fuck they want, and the adults kind of let them let loose for this one day. This is all from memory. I did read this book a couple of years ago. Anyway, on the morning of Devil's Day, Karma accidentally rear ends one of the guys from her school in her car. Unfortunately, the guy who's driving this car and his 2 mates that are in the car, they all fucking hate her. They despise her. They don't think she's good enough to associate with them, to go to their school. They hate her, and it is like the day from hell for Karma. And then she wakes up the next day, and it is the morning of Devil's Day, and she accidentally rear ends this guy's car, and she lives through another really shitty day, and then she wakes up and it is the morning of Devil's Day. Hence time loop, hence Why Choose. I love this book. This book actually made me so emotional, which is crazy for a Why Choose, like YA time loop. I got so sad. There was one chapter in this book where I was like, don't you fucking dare reset the day again. And and it happened. But anyway, I'm so excited to have that edition on my shelves. Next, I picked up the illustrated anniversary edition of The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. So I originally owned a paperback, but then I finished this book, was obsessed with it, and was like, I need a hardcover. I need something like a little bit more special than the paperback. So this is the edition I picked up from QVD. And we have some beautiful end pages, and then there is artwork. Yes, so just like a bit of a nicer edition to have on my shelves. Next, I ordered Best Offer Wins by Marissa Cashino from Amazon. I know that this is a like mystery thriller about how far would you go to secure your perfect home. I personally wouldn't go that far, but apparently the main character in this book goes real hard. So I picked it up. Hope I enjoy it. The last 3 books I have to show you are, would you believe it, from a lunch break trip to Savers. I have a problem. Savers is like a 2-minute drive from my work. So if I am bored and I've still got time to kill on my lunch break, I zip down to Savers, and I found 3 books on this trip. So the first one we have is You by Carolyn Kepnes. I have read this book before. I have owned this book before. I'm pretty sure I lent this book to someone who I then stopped being friends with. So this one has got annotations. So I'm excited to reread this book first of all, because I have not read it since it first came out, and maybe potentially watch the show. But this was just a couple of dollars, so I was excited to find it and put it back on my shelves because I did enjoy it when I read it. Next, I found Emma in the Night by Wendy Walker. I do have a couple of books by Wendy Walker, so I thought, why the fuck not? This follows 2 sisters that disappear, and then 3 years after the fact, one of the sisters comes back and tries to explain the story of what happened, but it's a matter of whether or not people will believe her. And the last book I found, guys, sorry, let me just set the scene for you, because this was a little bit, I felt a little bit bad about this. I was holding Emma in the Night and You, and I was walking around and I was like, I just want to find the book that is going to make me say, holy shit, I can't believe I found this. And I was walking around the shelves and I couldn't really, like, those 2 books, I was excited to have them, but they weren't like an amazing find. And then I saw this girl standing next to me who was holding this book. And I was like, holy shit, how did she find this book? And I didn't. Like, I've been hoping I would find this book secondhand out and about, and I hadn't found it, but this girl who must have got to the store a couple of minutes before me had found it. So I was a little bit hurt. But anyway, just not by her, just the universe being against me. And then standing in the same aisle, she put this book back on the shelf. Like, she decided she didn't want it anymore, which was like weird. Like, the universe was on my side. She put it back on the shelves, and I was like, okay, don't just go grab it. Wait until she like walks away. Because like, it just seems like an asshole move to wait for someone to put something back on the shelves and then immediately grab it. So I thought, just let her wander around. Maybe she'll pick it back up. But she didn't. She put it down. She walked away. So I grabbed it and I ran to the checkouts. And it is The Intruder by Freida McFadden. Now, I have said in recent history that I'm so glad that I do not purchase Freida McFadden books anymore, because most of the time they're not worth it. However, out of her newer releases, I did actually enjoy this one. This one follows a woman who is living in her cabin, which is not equipped for a storm, but there's a storm a-coming, and things get a little bit more awkward when there is a like child hiding in the woods outside her cabin. So she invites this child in, and this child is very mysterious, very creepy, and I enjoyed this book quite a lot. So I found it, and I didn't have to pay full price for it. And thank you for that girl putting this book back on the shelves, because I really, really have been looking for this, and also Dear Debbie. I really enjoyed Dear Debbie. So if I could find that one secondhand, that would be grand. But the universe smiled on me that day. So this was my June wrap up. Now, my July wrap up, I don't even want to fucking think about it, guys. So I'm not going to. I hope you enjoyed this video. I will see you guys again soon. Bye-bye.